Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We've got another Friday night matchup under the lights for this edition of Sportsource's Game of the Week. I'm your host, Jack Cooney, here to walk you through our preview of what is sure to be an electric contest. The 4-2 Habersham Central Raiders travel right here to Athens to take on the 2-4 Clarke Central Gladiators at 7:30 p.m. at Billy Henderson Stadium. Habersham Central is aiming to go 3-0 to start region play for the first time since 2007. But to do that, they'd need to beat this Clarke Central team for the first time since that same 07 season. That's sure to be a tough task after Clarke Central got their season back on track in a big way last week. With more on the Gladiators, we'll go to Sportsource analyst Kyle Tattlebaum, who spoke with head coach David Perno earlier this week.
Thanks, Jack. In the midst of his 9th season at Clarke Central, Coach Perno told me he's had to deal with obstacles that he hasn't had to before. I spoke with Perno on Wednesday about his squad and what needs to happen tonight to extend their win streak head-on-head to 6 games. What did you learn about your team following last week's win, bouncing back from 4 consecutive losses?
We got some resiliency. The kids have grown up. I think we have had to I just can't, you don't want to make excuses, but when you lose, 3 offensive linemen before the season started and a 4-star defensive lineman, it just took a lot for us to get adjusted and how we were going to move forward, not only personnel-wise, scheme-wise. We had to change scheme. We lost 3 big bodies that are guys that, have an impact. And then we've had 17 starters miss games and 3 out for the year, and that's kind of bizarre. I've never had anything remotely close to that. So they've hung in here. We've practiced well and showed we got some toughness.
Yeah. Speaking of different players, you have a new quarterback that you've gone with, Hudson Welter. How have you seen him grow and develop as he gets into his new position?
I've always knew when he was in 8th grade, I watched him a lot, and then obviously 9th grade, he was here, and so we were getting to see him a ton. I always knew he was going to be a good quarterback. I just didn't know that it happened this quick. But we just hadn't made enough plays with the other guys, Kamar and Cameron. They hadn't played terrible, but they just were missing reads and inconsistent with their pass deliveries and their pass sets. And Hudson does a lot of things right. He's hadn't been perfect, no question. And, the crazy thing about it, he didn't even play great last weekend. He played solid, but it was a lot better than what we've been getting.
Habersham's running back, Donnie Warren, rushed 40 times for 250 yards last week. How are you planning to slow down him and this run game?
Well, I think we've kind of handled Appalachians. They had a pretty good run game coming in, and we made some scheme changes, and we got to the ball, and you just got to rally. You got to get more than one hat to the ball, and you got to do it consistently. But we've put an emphasis on the last couple weeks in defending the run better.
In last week's win over Appalachia, Clarke Central's defense surrendered just 144 yards of total offense. Tonight, against Habersham's prolific run game, as you heard, the Gladiators will need to rally around the ball for this to end in their favor. Back to you, Jack.
This Habersham Central team will be coming out fired up and ready to compete. Coming up, we've got another interview with Raiders head coach Benji Harrison when Sportsource returns. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sportsource. It's time to learn some more about the visiting Habersham Central Raiders. It's been 18 years since the last time Habersham Central got the better of Clarke Central, dropping their last 5 games in a row to the Gladiators. However, tonight could be where they finally get a long-awaited victory. We have Sportsource analyst Grayson Means, who spoke with the Raiders head coach Benji Harrison to tell you more.
Thanks, Jack. Habersham Central head coach Benji Harrison has led his team to their best region start since 2007 after wins in their first 2 Region 8-5A contests. This season, they're looking to get their first win in Athens since 2006. With a win over Clarke, the Raiders seem primed for a region championship matchup in their season finale at Jackson County. However, standing in their way this week is Coach David Perno in a game that features the two longest tenured coaches at their school in the region. For more, I caught up with Coach Harrison to get his thoughts on our game of the week. Alrighty, Coach Harrison. So your team is 2-0 for the first time since 2007, and that team actually went undefeated in the region. In your first two games so far in Region 8-5A, what has kind of allowed your team to be successful?
Yeah, I just think we're playing pretty good football in all three phases: offense, defense, and special teams. I think this team enjoys playing the game. They're playing hard. They're playing with a lot of want to and emotion. And I think when you do those things, it sets you up to have success. But we got a long way ahead of us. If our kids are just playing with the same intensity and emotion, hopefully the success will continue. But each game brings on its new challenges, and we definitely have one tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And so kind of looking back at last game versus Barrow, Donnie Warren in the O-line had a huge game, over 300 yards rushing on the ground. What can you say about the character and the ability of Donnie Warren and your O-line, just kind of what they bring to the table each and every game?
Yeah, Donnie's a baller. I mean, he likes playing the game. He enjoys the ball in his hands. He's worked hard. I think that's the biggest thing from last year to this year, that the work ethic he's continued to have and the effort he's put in the weight room to develop himself allows him to be a physical player. And then obviously, if you're running the ball well, your offensive line's playing well. We got a lot of guys up there played a lot of snaps last year that have experience, and they're a really tight group, a connected group, and it's allowed those two to really feed off each other. I tell our line all the time, if you'll give Donnie a little bit of space, he'll make you right, and they've bought into that. They're playing physical, and Donnie's doing what Donnie's been doing all year.
Absolutely, I like it. And so, kind of looking at the Clarke Central matchup, Habersham's lost five straight to Clarke Central, but this year both teams are kind of coming in with a little bit of different experience, record-wise, players-wise, all that kind of stuff. What do you think is kind of the keys to victory and the scouting report for this Clarke Central team?
Yeah, I mean, we know that Clarke Central is very capable. They've got athletes all over the field. They've got really good team speed. They're defending region champions, and we know that. So we know that coming down here to Clarke Central to play is going to be a tough atmosphere, a tough environment. But it starts up front for us. I mean, our offensive line has to play well. We have to set the tone by controlling the line of scrimmage. And then the same thing on the other side of the ball, defense. We've got to be good on the line of scrimmages. You can talk about all the other stuff, but the game to me is still won and lost right there. But it's just got to take care of the ball. I know that's just kind of coach talk for most parts, but it is. I think you got to take care of the football, and you got to get off to a good start. I think when we've played well this year, we've got off to good starts, and we need to do the same tonight against Clarke Central.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I know you're obviously concerned about the task at hand, but kind of taking a step back and looking at, your kind of Final Four region games that are coming up. What are kind of the goals and expectations, and what do you kind of want to see from your guys during these last four games as playoff seedings kind of shaping up in these Final Four?
Yeah, I mean, you just got to take those games one game at a time. We've kind of come up with this thing, even breaking it down a little bit smaller than that, even as being 1-0 each play. Focusing on that play, on that given down, and doing our best on that play, and we'll worry about the next one after the whistle blows. But I think our kids have bought into that. I think they understand it, and that truly is what it is. We've got to be great on each play, and if you do those, the outcomes kind of take care of themselves. But we know what's ahead of us. We know what our goals are this year, and we know how big this game is tonight as far as reaching those goals.
All right, I appreciate it, Coach. Thank you for your time, and good luck this week.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So I actually got the chance to play under Coach Harrison back in my high school playing days, and I can attest to the job he's done and the program that he's built at Habersham Central. I can assure you the Raiders will have a good game plan heading into the matchup. A guy Coach Harrison and I mentioned in the interview was Donnie Warren, one of our key players, with whom I also had the opportunity to play with when he was the same defensive back position as me. Since then, Donnie has grown into a bruiser of a running back, displaying his capabilities in a 253-yard performance on a school record 40 carries in last week's win over Barrow. Look for him to have his fair share of explosive plays tonight. Back to you, Jack.
Absolutely, Grayson. Stud running back Donnie Warren will be a big part of Habersham Central's strategy tonight. And guess what? We'll hear from him in just a moment when Sportsource returns. Welcome back to Sportsource. As you heard, Habersham Central will likely lean heavily on senior running back Donnie Warren this week to stay perfect in region play. Sportsource reporter Maddie Weinberg was able to get a word with him this week about his mindset heading into this big matchup. Maddie?
Thanks, Jack. Donnie Warren is coming off of a dominant performance against Barrow, rushing for over 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. I caught up with him this week ahead of this big regional showdown. You play both running back and linebacker. How do you manage the physical toll of carrying the ball that much while still making an impact on defense?
You just got to be a player, man. At the end of the day, you just got to work through everything.
The team is 1-1 on the road so far this season. What's the mindset heading into another away game this week?
0-0, you just got to add another one on the board. I keep stacking them up.
When you get in a rhythm like you did last week, what's your approach?
Just get locked in and keep things moving at a fast pace. Let's go.
Every good run usually starts up front. What do you do to show appreciation for your offensive line?
Oh, I just show love to my guys. High five, slap them on the helmet, outside, get them stuff. We go shopping.
Warren is aiming to stay in a rhythm tonight against Clarke Central, doing what he can to help lead his guys to another regional win. Jack?
Yeah, Maddie, Warren will have his work cut out for him to break through this Clarke Central defense that just shut out Appalachia last week. Is there anyone on that unit we should keep an eye out for?
Well, Jack, as a matter of fact, senior defensive lineman Dream Freeman has been making a huge impact for this Gladiator defensive front. I spoke with him this week as well about how he plans to shut down the Raider offense. Dream, you had a monster performance last week with 4 sacks. What was your mindset going into that game, and how did you stay so disruptive all night?
I just went in with bad intentions, I got tired of losing, and I know if I came in and brought the energy, my guys were just going to follow with that. As they did, we ended up winning, so that's all I did.
As a defensive leader, how do you build off of last week's game and keep that momentum going into this week?
Now that we finally got a taste of winning, and it's a region game, I feel like the guys, we want a home game, so we can shout in front of the crowd. But I just really showed them that if we can keep this rolling, we can really make something special out of this season.
So as of right now, Clarke Central is 0-3 at home. What has been the message this week to try and flip that script this Friday?
Hey, we win this home game, we're going to have another one. I mean, we didn't perform well in the past 3 games. We had 3 tough games at home. But going into practice, it was just very more, really intense for everybody. So, yeah, just winning at home, we have another game.
Defensive line play is all about working together. How do you and your teammates up front feed off of each other's energy during a game?
I mean, if I go get a sack, I know my guys coming behind me to celebrate with me. So it's just like a domino effect. One person knocking down, the next person coming behind me.
And when the crowd is behind you at home, how does that fuel the energy on defense and give you the edge?
Well, when we at home, I know it's my friends, my family in the crowd. So I try to perform for them. I put the city on my back. I feel like when we out here and we hear them behind us chanting our names, chanting "Go Glads," it should give us a boost of energy, especially in this region game.
Freeman will be feeding off of the energy of his teammates and the crowd to give the fans their first home win of the season. Back to you, Jack.
Thanks for that, Maddie. Coming up, we'll break down our keys to the game and our analysis of this regional showdown when we return. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sportsource. It's time for our keys to the game. Joining me again are our Sportsource analysts, Kyle and Grayson. We'll kick things off with Kyle. What can we expect to see tonight from Clarke Central?
Yeah, Jack, I'm looking for this offense to come out swinging tonight, picking up where they left off in last week's 38-0 win. Behind sophomore quarterback Hudson Welter, as we heard earlier from Coach Perno, the offense has looked more dynamic. I'm expecting nothing less from them tonight.
And what will the Gladiators need to do to keep their winning streak alive?
Well, Jack, I'm glad you asked, and it's pretty simple. Make Habersham beat you in the air. Go all in on the run game and minimize Donnie Warren's impact on tonight's contest. Take him out of the equation, and Clarke Central will be in good shape tonight.
Thanks, Kyle. Grayson, who will Habersham Central be leaning on tonight?
Obviously, so far the star of this show has been running back Donnie Warren, and look for him to be a big part of the Raider offense once again, coming off a school record 40 carries last week. Habersham Central's offensive line has also paved the way for 198.7 rushing yards per game so far this season. And I think the junior connection between quarterback Paris Wilbanks and receiver Jay Feltis will do enough to keep the offense balanced. Defensively, look for senior defensive lineman Jackson Adams, junior linebackers C.J. Davis and Griffin Cunningham, and junior defensive back Parks York to be making plays at all 3 levels tonight. The Raider defense is only allowing 15.5 points a game, and I see them limiting Clarke Central scoring once again tonight.
And how will the Raiders be able to get a long-awaited victory?
Plain and simple, they need to get out to a fast start. Clarke Central will be carrying momentum into this game, but so will the Raiders. In the 2 games they lost, Habersham was down by a combined 35 points at halftime. As long as the Raiders jump on the Glads early, I think they'll be able to win comfortably.
And there you have it. No matter how this matchup plays out, it's high stakes and both teams are hungry for a big win. Kickoff will be at 7:30 at Billy Henderson Stadium at Clarke Central High School. Thanks so much for joining us for tonight's edition of Game of the Week by Sportsource. For analyst Kyle Tattlebaum and Grayson Means and reporter Maddie Weinberg, I'm your host, Jack Cooney. See you next week.